All right. Hello and welcome to the Innovator Lab podcast. I'm Adrienne Farrell, and today our guest is Heather Ashby. Heather is the founder and CEO of Coworkers, a female-focused co-working space and social club offering Class A office space, amenities, and resources for entrepreneurs, freelancers, and remote workers. Hello, Heather, and welcome.
Hi, thank you.
It's so great to have you on the show. I have so many questions for you, but I would love to just hear a little bit about you and your background leading up to the launch of Coworkers.
Great. My background is in event marketing and promotions, and I did that for about 13 years, traveling the country, working with big Fortune 500 companies like Coca-Cola, Levi Strauss, Gillette. So I would promote their brands at big events all over the country, and I was asked to move to Maine and work here. And so after I got laid off from that job, I started a resale clothing shop with a friend of mine I worked with at that job. So that was my first dipping of the toe in the water of entrepreneurship. And it was scary, but not so scary because I was doing it with a friend who I trusted. But I also learned a lot about, the fears that we have of starting a business. It's a real fear, but once you do it once, it seems easier and easier. So when the idea hit me after I had left that business to her and kind of went off and worked with my husband in real estate, we had an apartment building that we sold, and we bought this building at auction. So we put that money into this building, the Masonic Temple building. And so we inherited the building, which was almost vacant. A law firm was here for 60 years, and when they left, when the auction was happening, we had all this vacant space. So for a few years, it was empty, and we weren't sure what to do with it. This was our first time in commercial real estate, and I said, what if we didn't try to keep leasing it out to one big company for 8,000 square foot space? What if we broke it into little chunks and rented out one office at a time? And I didn't know about co-working at the time. I just thought, that's kind of a neat idea. Let's try to just chip away at it. And then I thought out loud, what if it were for women? That would be so neat. A place just for women. I just envision myself in a space surrounded by women, and there's an architect in this office and a realtor in that office and an engineer in that office. I was just honing in on the field we were working in at the time of real estate, imagining the potential of all these women working together. And then I was sitting at the kitchen counter and I Googled it. Is it legal to open a space for just women? Can I even do that? And I ran into The Wing and Hera Hub and all these other co-working spaces focusing on women. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's like a thing. I can do it. They can do it. I can do it. So that's where it kind of launched from. People were looking at me like I was crazy, but I was like, no, this is a really good idea, and I'm not going to tell anybody about it. So I kept it to myself until I was ready to open. So that was in April of 2017 that I was sitting at that kitchen counter. And then that December, I was open. That's kind of the history of how it all evolved. It was sort of a fluke.
That is really interesting. I'm so curious. How did your community at Portland, Maine receive Coworkers when you launched?
It was actually pretty exciting. I opened that December, and in October, a couple months before, was when Harvey Weinstein got arrested. And so the whole Me Too movement was happening. And Hillary Clinton was running for president. There was a lot of political chaos and a lot of breaking the glass ceiling feeling from women. And so there was also a lot of what happened to her? Why is she opening this space for women? As if I just could do that in a couple of months. Between October and December, it doesn't happen that fast. I think there was a lot of interviews and a lot of question as to what happened to this woman. Why is she doing this and alienating men and creating a space just for her and her women, But it was well received by the women in the community. I had 22 members signed up before I had even opened, and a lot of them were coming to Maine from New York and other cities where they were familiar with co-working and knew about the Wing and these other places. So I really felt positive that it was going to be successful right away when I had that kind of feedback and the memberships that were signing up. But I got a lot of press out of it because of that Me Too situation. So that was good. Good press.
That's really great to hear. And what is some of the feedback that you have heard from women since opening? I know it's been a number of years now, but what do you hear from women who are entering your space and utilizing it?
It's all good. I had an event last night for entrepreneurs. It's called CoworkHERS, and it's like a support group for female entrepreneurs who are freelancers and lone workers doing their thing, being a mother, being a caretaker, caring for their elderly parents, all the things. And there were 20 women that showed up that most of them I had not met before. And they were just saying, I've walked by here a million times and I've always wanted to come inside. And this was my chance to be inside these walls. And it was all just like warm and fuzzy, kumbaya, like rah-rah, great feeling. Everybody's just, and the members here are just so supportive and they don't want to leave. They usually end up leaving because they get pregnant, they lose their job, they have to move for whatever reason, but for the most part, if they end up back in Portland, they sign back up again. It's just, they feel like it's a home away from home, and that was my plan. I know that I'm asking them a lot to leave their home office or to leave their kitchen counter and work here when they're working remotely anyway. Why would they pay money to come here, which is, in these financial times, not an easy thing to do. And they need it. They do it because they want to be around other people, because they're isolated at home, because they're looking at laundry and dishes and the dog and all the things that they have to do, and they're not being productive. And they come in here and they bring a homemade pie and they have coffee and they hang out and they just make friends and they go for walks together. And so it's like it's a luxury for them to spend the money to come here and to do that and to drive into the city, but it's clear that it's something that they need. So that feels good for me.
That sounds so positive and just lovely. I know that remote working can be isolating. Being a new mother can be isolating. So I love that you're providing this opportunity for women to have community, have support, have resources. It's just so incredibly needed right now. So yeah, well, let's jump into the pandemic because I'm really curious to hear how did it look? You said you opened in 2017, so you had a couple years under your belt, and then what happened?
So I already doubled in size and then took over a suite of 5 little offices upstairs on the 3rd floor because I needed more offices. I had plenty of open space for people to work, but people needed privacy. So I had started chipping away at another whole suite. And then the pandemic hit, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm spending this money building out these glass offices so that people can see one another, but have that privacy, feel like they're not isolated because they're seeing people walking by. And I said, well, I can't stop. Like this, we don't know what's going to happen. I have to continue construction. So we kept going. And before, I think it was 2 weeks when it was complete, I had filled everything. It was 22 offices. Had filled up in 2 weeks. So I survived the pandemic. I had got in the plexiglass shields and everything for down here, and people were still coming in. Because Maine was one of the last states to really feel the effects of the pandemic. We were a little far behind everyone else. So cities like New York and LA, people were coming here in droves trying to escape the pandemic, and they knew about co-working, and they were renting these little apartments, and their partners in there working at the same time with them, or their babies, and all this stuff. So they were like, I got to get out of here. So it worked for me. It was actually a plus. And then I added another whole floor. So I have 60 offices now because of that. And they're almost full. So
That's amazing. And I'm curious, how many members do you have today?
we have about 150.
Wow.
It fluctuates like a gym membership. People are coming and going, but we're hovering around 150 right now.
That's amazing. And I know you have individuals and also businesses, right, that operate
Right.
in your space.
Yes, we have Maine Votes, Maine Voices. We have a couple of offices in the team. We have Black Owned Maine. They have a big office in the corner with about 5 people there. We have an organization called Maine Boys to Men, which is not the band, but they mentor young men and new Mainers on what it is like to be a good father and a good husband, and what the laws in Maine are, and how to be a good man. Their mission was so aligned with mine, and it meant so much to me to have them here and vet everyone and make sure that everyone is a good fit for the community, male or female or otherwise. I just want to make sure that everybody feels safe and comfortable. So yeah, we do have some really great companies here.
That's so great to hear. So tell me a little bit about what Coworkers offers. I know you mentioned pollinators before, but what are all the different happenings going on there?
We're always cooking up something here. For the members, we have things like our members' lunches every month. We bring in food and we sit around and have like a guided conversation over lunch with our business coach. And we also have our entrepreneur support group within the community. And then that's where pollinators is sort of an extension of that, where if you're not a member, you can still come into the space and be supported. We have a hot flash HERS support group for anyone going through a menopause stage of their life who needs support and resources. We have things like Waffle Wednesdays. We have happy hours. Tomorrow night we're going out for some drinks and snacks. So we're just always doing things like within the community, crafts, game nights. We go to the mall and do dance revolution at round one. I mean, everybody just trying to get out and get into the community and support the local businesses too. So everything's in person here.
Wow.
I really love to throw a party. I like to have snacks and drinks and get people together and really face to face. I feel like it's so important after the pandemic that people actually make that physical connection with somebody, exchange numbers, and hopefully carry a relationship forward. There is a lot of competition, which is tough because sometimes I'll post something up and then I'm like, oh my gosh, there's like 3 other really cool events that I would even like to go to. So there is a bit of a risk in doing that, but I feel like it also helps me get people in the space that may want to be in or haven't had time to schedule a tour, and once they get in here and they see it and they see how much bigger it is than what it looks like from the outside. They see the decor, they see the amenities, they're like, oh my gosh, okay, that's good marketing for me.
Absolutely. And I love that you're providing opportunities for women to connect and socialize in ways that aren't very common. It's so important, especially, again, for new mothers. I have a little daughter, so I just went through the new mother stage. I feel like I'm still in it. And finding opportunities to connect and socialize when you have a small child, it looks completely different.
And sharing those kinds of things that you're going through in that stage of your life, you're likely to find someone else who has that same situation going on. And you don't, coming here, being the kind of space that we have curated, is that you don't have to dress up and you don't have to put your makeup on or do your hair. You just come as you are, and there's always somebody just in sweats and things like that. And that what you were talking about before made me think about, like, when I was starting the space, my daughter's 10 and my son's 14. This was 7 years ago. So I was a mom with little kids, and I wanted to include a daycare. I had a lot of members who were in that same stage at that time where they were getting pregnant or having a newborn. And I was like, wow, we should really have childcare here. These people wouldn't leave. They'd be here. It was just needed. But I tried to do that. And then the pandemic came along and nobody wanted to be around a bunch of sick kids, and all that stuff just was like not appealing to people. And then a lot of those people went to work from home and not coming into the office because their kids were home, because they couldn't go to daycare, couldn't go to schools. It changed the membership a lot during the pandemic. We became a younger population with women who weren't in that stage in their life. But at the time, knowing how hard it was for me to go to the gym, like leave work, go to the gym, work out, come back, try to find parking, and then I'm kind of sweaty, whatever. I thought this would be so much easier to have it here under the roof of our, like, in our space. So we have a gym, we have showers, we have a massage table, we have lactation rooms. We have all the, I really don't want women to have to try to fight to have that time, that self-care that they need throughout the day. And then we have a walking treadmill room too. Desks that, go 4 miles an hour, but you can walk and get your little fitness in. So they came out the whole package.
Yeah, and I think this really underlines why it's so important for female founders to thrive, because you yourself understand what women need and what working women need and entrepreneurs need, and so you were able to create something knowing from your firsthand experience, like, I need a gym in-house so I'm not driving back and forth and all that. So I love that. So I'm curious, I know that coworkers will probably continue to grow and thrive and change as many organizations do, but what do you really hope to achieve? What do you envision for the future?
It's kind of a funny question. Someone asked me that last night, and something came up for me that I hadn't felt or thought of before. But my elderly mother, recently I moved her here from out of state to be closer to me. Her husband passed away, my dad, so I just thought, well, let's bring her here. And now as I'm observing her and I'm realizing I've plucked her out of her element and everything she's ever known and brought her here, how little connections that she has with the community, no friends, things like that. And I realized, well, I got to get her out more, first of all. But but I don't want that for myself. I want, at some point I won't be able to continue to do this work. I always want to be doing something, but I want to carry these friendships with me, the people that I've met through doing this, and I want to continue to be involved in the community in so many different ways, whether it's with the elections that come up in the future, volunteering, things that I can be on the board of different organizations, mentoring women. So for myself personally, that is like a goal that I hadn't realized was something for me for the future. And I always thought maybe it would be cool to end this enterprise of mine in as a way of being a co-op or a member-owned co-working space, because they feel like it is a home away from home, and I feel like there's like they look after it and they look after each other and they look out for me and I just feel like there's a lot of pride and care from everyone here, that might be an interesting concept to look at some point when I close this chapter way down the road. Wait. I'm not going anywhere anytime soon, but I certainly don't want to open up a franchise or another space. I've been asked about that before. It's just a lot with the family and the kids and my mother here and all that I have going on. And I think that at the heart of all of this is the people who run it make the space, and my personality and my passion for what I do. I couldn't have that in in another space, because I can only be in one place at one time.
Right. That makes sense. That's a really interesting point. I feel like when our generation is older, there will be more of a need and want for connection, and something
Right.
that we're seeing in our parents' generation, that they can be isolated, or that there aren't those systems in place to help them connect. And so I appreciate that you're focusing on that, because I think post-retirement will be a time when it's like, okay, now what? How do we
Right.
connect? And for a lot of women, myself included, like you mentioned, retirement in some degree isn't something we're interested in. We want to keep contributing, keep participating, whether that's mentorship or what have you. So I
Yeah,
appreciate that
I
you're
think
looking at that.
for me, so I have a big birthday coming up. Well, not a big. My birthday is on Christmas. So
Oh,
I'll be 57, which is kind of an old person for a 10-year-old child. So I think it's like closer to my reality than the people that work here. I'm probably their den mother. I'm the one who takes care of them, and I am the older, wiser woman here. So I do look towards that future of like, what do I want that to look like for myself? And I
mm,
want to stay healthy and stay young and stay busy, because a wheel in motion stays in motion, and I'll stay sharp and I'll stay current, and I'll stay in the know on technology and all the things that
mm.
come. I don't want to just fade away and be forgotten. I want a legacy for my daughter. I want her to see what a working mother can look like, and I want her to settle. So yeah, it's just a lot of feelings about that and about what I want for the community. So
That's really inspiring. I feel like you're a great role model for the community and for women of all ages, because also in this day and age, we're rarely surrounded, or I am at least, by women of all different ages. I feel like usually it's your peer group that you run in these circles, which I don't think is necessarily healthy. And so it's great to have spaces where you can be around women of all ages. I think that's so
yeah,
important.
yeah.
So it's, obviously you have a lot going on. You're clearly very busy, very driven. And I'm curious to hear from you, what is one habit in general that you practice that helps you be this powerhouse?
Oh my
Um,
gosh. I wish I had a really good answer for you. My self care is probably like the least focus for me, which is like I'm aware of that, and I'm trying to like work on that a little bit. But um, I do go to bed kind of early. My sleep is important to me, but I do have to get up pretty early to get the kids out the door and stuff. Um, and I don't know. I try to laugh. I listen to a lot of music, and I dance with my kids all the time. We're always listening to music, and we go to concerts, a lot of concerts, and yeah, I don't know. I don't really have like a magic pill for self care. It's really just something that I'm always questioning. Am I like, as much as I say, oh, I have a gym here and I want to have everything under one roof, I don't have time for it. I was even complaining yesterday that I can't remember the last time I sat and had a proper lunch. just like
Mm.
go, go, go. But I did have a great compliment from a man yesterday in the space. He was here early and I was setting up and cleaning and just refilling paper towels. And I was talking about my kids and all the things that I'm dealing with my mother and my sister and all the things. And he said, "You have an ironclad constitution." And I was like, "Ooh, no one's ever said that. This is such a compliment." And I felt like I was floating in an ironclad suit, if that makes any sense at all. Like this, I
Hmm.
felt lighter than air. I felt it carried me throughout the day, but I also felt like really strong and like I was wearing a suit of armor. So I think a lot of the people that are around me are like giving me those little self care boosts.
Mhm.
They're giving
It
me the
sounds
positive
like
vibe.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like the work that you do really feeds your soul, feeds your
Yes.
spirit.
Yes. Yeah.
That's so
Like
wonderful.
I'm excited to get up and get in here every day. So
Hmm.
excited. Yeah.
That's really wonderful. And I'm also wondering, what do you attribute your success to? And by success, I'm not necessarily speaking about, being a successful business owner or financial necessarily or anything like that, but your ability to pursue your dreams and your goals. What do you attribute that to?
It's interesting. That's a good question. I think it's just coming, like my mom always says, I don't know where she gets it. Where does she get it from? It's not from me. And my mother was just a secretary, didn't, have a lot of lofty goals and didn't do much. And nobody in my family is college educated except for one of my sisters. I didn't even go to college. So I think part of it is that there's like a drive inside of me to prove that you don't need to go to college to be smart and successful. You don't need to have that piece of paper. And so I've always felt really like ashamed of that when I was younger, that I didn't go to college and I wanted to, but I really was like supporting myself living in New York City at 23 years old. I didn't have the money, the time, or the energy. I just was like work, work, work. And I just have always had since I was 11 years old, I've worked, just worked. And I think it just comes from trying to prove myself. I don't know if that makes any sense. It's just, and it's also a flaw at the same time. Like, I was reading something about imposter syndrome this morning in an article, like 82% of the population has suffered with imposter syndrome in their career and in their work. And where it comes from and all those things is fascinating to me, the psychology of it all. But it's really just a bunch of baloney in your own head,
Right.
that you're not giving your credit to your own skills, you're giving it to fate. You're saying, oh, that was just luck, that was just luck. But really it isn't. You have to recognize the hard work that you're putting in and the things that you're doing, and that it's coming from you, not luck and fate and good fortune. So
Hmm. Oh, I love that. That's really excellent. Imposter syndrome is so funny too because I do know some like powerhouse executives that have and I'm like, how do you still have it after all these years? And look at where you are. Like, this is crazy. Do you provide any mentorship for women through coworkers who are exploring their career paths or otherwise?
we don't have any formal programs. We have partnered with CEI and SCORE with mentors that have come in and taught workshops and things. And in the beginning, I did a lot of that because SCORE mentored me. I had two mentors when I was opening coworkers because I didn't know how to write a business plan. I didn't know what I was doing, how to create an LLC. I'd only done the resale clothing store, but not, I wanted to originally open this as a nonprofit. And so that's why I originally went there. And then they said, well, if you're trying to start a nonprofit and this kind of business model, it's going to be a lot of work. And it's going to be like, you should probably just open the business and then pursue that later, but just get it off the ground. And I knew someone was going to steal my idea if I didn't get out there. So I
Mhm.
was like, I want to hurry up and open. So I really highly recommend them. It's free and they're there for life if you ever need them in the future or any point during your entrepreneurial career or path, whatever you're doing. They're just such a great support system, and it's completely free. It's crazy. So they were doing workshops here in the space when I first opened, and I actually had a SCORE mentor. My mentor would sit here in a meeting room once a week, and it was like Peppermint Patty, free advice. Come in, and you book a time with her, and she would help you. And so we do have an in-house business coach who does that now instead of a SCORE mentor. But I do pay her out of my own pocket to help the members here. She's here all the time to just offer support, and she runs our entrepreneur support group. So
Wow, that's an incredible resource. I'm curious too, what is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
I think it almost sounds like a negative, but no, it's not really good advice. It really just a motivator for me. But someone said to me, this is not for the faint of heart. Opening a co-working space is not for the faint of heart. And my mother actually said, you have no business doing this. You have children, you should be at home. And it really just lit a fire under me. It's not really advice. It's just kind of like that. That's what I needed to light me up.
Hmm.
And, a lot of advice. There's so many. I even have this book. I have books on my desk, little quotes and different things that I read all the time for my own little inspirations. But um, I can't say that there's one thing that really sticks out. You
Well,
know.
that sounds like a great example of something that was what you needed to hear
Yeah.
to propel you forward.
This quote here I have under my desk. Underestimate me. That'll be funny. Fun. That'll be fun. That's my favorite quote. And that inspires me when I see that. Yes, don't underestimate me. Just because I didn't go to college, just because I don't fit into your little box of what an entrepreneur should look like or what I should be doing doesn't mean that I'm not going to be able to do it. I just have to work hard and Google it. If you don't know the answer, Google it. Like look at a YouTube video. Figure it.
Absolutely. I'm right there with you. And that's a great quote. I'm going to write that down. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. I'm really excited to follow your journey and see how Coworkers evolves. It sounds like such a positive and impactful organization for the community. So kudos to you for making that happen. That's a really wonderful achievement. Thank you again so much. And I will put your information in the show notes so people can find you.